Anybody to notice me.
I just want to fly under the radar.
I want to splatter against the glass ceiling.
I don't have an opinion.
I want to be a straight C student.
I'm going to be a biomedical engineer. I want to succumb to peer pressure all of my life.
I'm going to be a best-selling author and win the National Book Award.
I'm going to be a marine biologist.
Wait, I take mine back. I'm going to be a biomedical engineer.
I think I'll be the president.
I'm going to be Secretary of State.
World-class chef, right here.
Race car driver.
Artist. Paleontologist.
Film director.
Surgeon.
Teacher. Scientist.
Olympian.
I'm going to be the boss.
Some days you feel like Rick, other days you feel like Chum Lee. Today I feel like Chum Lee, more like the old man. Don't worry, Pawn Stars isn't on. Not right now anyway. I think it's on Thursdays, isn't it? Welcome back to First Cup, aka Second Pot, on this Monday night, as we slowly wrap up the second hour of this program. And what do you say we take a look at the latest in news? We'll have news from NPR Radio in just a moment, but first, here is Fox Radio News.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler.
The joint resolution is passed.
That mini funding measure to keep the FDA in business may have been approved in the House tonight, but it's not going anywhere in the Senate, where Majority Leader Harry Reid continues to reject a piecemeal approach to funding the government. This as the shutdown enters its second week.
Democrats are touting a new Washington Post ABC News poll suggesting 7 in 10 Americans disapprove of the way the Republicans have handled this, although 51% say the same of the president and 61% say the same of congressional Democrats. So the blame is being spread around.
Fox's Ed Henry, if this bill passes, it'll be the only measure on which the House and Senate can agree.
We've gotten word that the Senate may sometime later this week take up the bill to pay federal workers who have been furloughed retroactively once the government shutdown is concluded. The House of Representatives passed this 407-0 on Saturday. The Senate did not take this up on Saturday. They've not taken it up on Monday. We're just told that that could come later this week. There seem to be some reservations on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, with that.
Fox's Chad Pergram, the nation's ability to borrow money about to expire 1 week from Thursday, unless Congress agrees to extend the debt ceiling.
With little indication of a debt ceiling solution, U.S. markets remain only a few percentage points off their all-time highs. Many of the consequences of a U.S. debt ceiling breach are up to international investors. If they lose confidence in the U.S., taxpayers will pay much more to borrow money, an expensive proposition when the government is borrowing hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
Rich Edson with Fox Business Network Senate Finance Committee Chair Max Baucus has scheduled a hearing this Thursday on what happens if the debt ceiling is not extended. Investors sufficiently concerned, the Dow down 136, the NASDAQ off 37. You're listening to Fox News Radio, Fair and Balanced.
Weeknights, we're busting out a brand new lineup. First, market fraud, government abuse, corruption. At 5, nothing's off limits on money with Melissa Francis. Then, from bloated bank fees to consumer scams. At 6, Jerry's exposing the issues impacting your wallet. Plus, get smart market insight and trusted analysis you won't find anywhere else. At 7, Lou Dobbs is all business. And the first and last name in business, Cavuto. Shedding light on the biggest stories making headlines at 8. Only on the Fox Business Network, giving you the power to prosper. Weekdays, it's Markets Now on Fox Business.
Big sales for automakers. We will indeed see some reaction down here. We've got the numbers.
I'll look at some of the winners and losers in the market.
Tracking every trade, watching every sector.
The stock's actually at an all-time high.
U.S. manufacturing continued to expand.
Minute by minute, Markets Now is your source for real-time business news.
Gold and silver dropping like lead balloons today.
You still can find some opportunities.
Only one network has the pulse across the financial world. Fox Business, the power to prosper.
Already indicted for 2 deadly U.S. embassy bombings in Africa, al-Qaeda leader Abu Anas al-Libi captured in Libya over the weekend and now being interrogated.
He's currently being lawfully detained by the United States military in a secure location outside of Libya. I'm not going to give further details on his location.
State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf, Al-Libi is on board a U.S. warship, along with interrogation teams from the U.S. military, the CIA, and the Justice Department. The trial of the Colorado movie massacre suspect is set to start in February. Today, attorneys for both sides argued over admissible evidence and how jurors would be selected.
Both sides discussed the jury questionnaire and just what will be on it. They agreed a whole separate section will be dedicated to mental health, as James Holmes has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Former prosecutor Karen Steinhauser has been following the case.
Are we dealing with jurors who have had their own personal experiences with mental health? Because it could affect that particular juror's ability to be fair.
Holmes' attorneys are also trying to keep out evidence like his dating profiles. On one, he asks, "Will you visit me in prison?" His attorneys also question how police obtained items like those profiles and stuff inside his apartment as they fight to keep it from being introduced as evidence. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News Radio.
An Albuquerque jury has convicted an Arizona prison inmate of capital murder in the deaths of an Oklahoma couple alongside a New Mexico highway in 2010 when he was on the lam. John McCluskey could get the death penalty. In two New Jersey shore communities, demolition and cleanup work got underway today in Seaside Park and Seaside Heights, where a massive fire destroyed dozens of businesses, many rebuilt after Hurricane Sandy. That storm's one-year anniversary at the end of the month. I'm Jane Metzler, Fox News Radio.
There's really ain't no party like a Dingus Day party, because a Dingus Day party is the most random excuse to drink there is.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. President Obama is challenging House Speaker John Boehner's claim there are not enough votes in the House to pass a stopgap bill to fully reopen the federal government. That's unless concessions regarding Obama's health care law are included. NPR's Craig Windham reports the president told employees at the Federal Emergency Management Agency today he's confident a spending bill without any add-ons would pass in the House.
The president is calling on Boehner to allow a vote on a so-called clean spending bill.
Let the bill go to the floor and let's see what happens. Just vote.
Obama says Boehner apparently does not want to see the government shutdown end at the moment.
Unless he's able to extract concessions that don't have anything to do with the budget.
The president says he's open to talks with GOP leaders about a range of issues once the government has reopened and the federal debt ceiling has been raised. But Boehner says those negotiations must come first.
The president's refusal to negotiate is hurting our economy and putting our country at risk.
Boehner says any debt ceiling increase must include steps to reduce the federal deficit. Craig Windham, NPR News, Washington.
Democrats in the Senate are reportedly poised to introduce legislation this week allowing for the raising of the nation's debt limit without the kinds of restrictions Republicans have said they would like to add. However, depending on how Republicans respond, it might be the middle of next week before a final vote could be taken. Republicans have said they want long-term deficit cuts or reforms to benefit programs and environmental rules as the price for raising the debt ceiling. U.S. authorities say a terrorism suspect captured in Libya will face trial in the civilian court system. The FBI had offered a $5 million reward for the man accused of plotting the 1998 Africa embassy bombings. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports.
Administration officials say Abu Abbas al-Libi is being interrogated by a team that specializes in high-value intelligence targets. The Obama administration has followed this hybrid model before. 2 years ago, it captured Ahmed Warsame on open water and held him for 2 months on a military vessel before sending him to New York City to face justice. Officials tell NPR the same process is in store for al-Libi, who was indicted in 2000 for his role in bombing U.S. embassies in Africa. Legal experts say there's no set timeline for how long the U.S. can hold al-Libi without access to a lawyer, but they warn civil liberties groups could start to apply pressure if he's not moved onto American soil soon. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
Well, some glitches with the online sites to sign up for President Obama's new health care law have prompted cries of "told you so" from many critics. Insurers, for the most part, appear to be holding off on criticizing the online enrollment system. Many say there's enough time to fix it before uninsured Americans are supposed to start getting coverage on January 1st. Stocks began the week on a down note. The Dow Jones Industrial Average falling 136 points to close at 14,936. The Nasdaq was down 37 points today. You're listening to NPR News in Washington. The United Nations Secretary General is recommending upwards of 100 people be part of a joint mission to eliminate Syria's chemical weapons stockpile. Ban Ki-moon, in a letter to the UN Security Council obtained by the Associated Press, says a joint mission should be established with the UN, providing logistical support. The 11-page letter was in response to a UN Security Council resolution calling for the dismantling of Syria's chemical weapons. This past weekend, under the supervision of weapons experts supported by the UN, the destruction of some of those chemical weapons got underway. This year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine will go to 3 scientists who helped to figure out how living cells send out chemical messages. NPR's Richard Harris reports it's a critical mechanism for everything from hormones to brain function.
Cells make tiny packages of molecules and then release them. That's essentially how cells talk to one another. Sometimes those secretions are hormones, like adrenaline. Sometimes they are brain chemicals that affect our mood and mental health. These secretions are a fundamental function of living cells, and when the systems go awry, diseases can result. The Nobel Committee is honoring 3 scientists for their role in figuring this out. Jim Rothman is at Yale University, Randy Sheckman is a Howard Hughes Medical Institute scholar at UC Berkeley, and German-born Tom Sudoff is a Hughes scholar at Stanford. The 3 will share approximately $1.2 million when the prize is awarded in Stockholm later this year. Richard Harris, NPR News.
Authorities say they still aren't sure how he was able to pull it off. A 9-year-old boy who they say took a light train to the Minneapolis airport, then without a ticket somehow boarded a Delta Airlines flight to Las Vegas. Officials say it was only after the flight crew became suspicious that it was determined the boy was not supposed to be on the plane. I'm Jack Spear, NPR News in Washington.
Hey, 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 it's Fred Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for you. And Bill's gonna show you a thing or two. You'll have some fun now with me and all the gang, learning from each other while we do our thing. Na, 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 gonna have a good time. Hey, hey.
This is Bill Cosby coming at you with music and fun. And if you're not careful, you may learn something before it's done. Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Monday evening. Yeah, you heard correctly. Monday evening, if you are listening to this program via podcast form rather than live. Yeah, it's Monday evening, all right. But you already probably knew that anyway because you listened to the beginning of the program, or maybe just jumped to this portion. I don't know. Well, this portion of the program is what we like to call News of the Weird. So let's roll on here, shall we? And News of the Weird today takes us to the great state of Utah. Police in Utah put a fake parking ticket on a little girl's pink Barbie Jeep toy that had been left in the middle of the road. The officer moved the toy out of the road and the driver into the driveway and put a big abandoned vehicle tag on it. The homeowner had a good laugh when he realized there was no real fine and reminded his daughter to put the Jeep where it belongs, in the garage. And that's today's News of the Weird item. Okay. An officer with a sense of humor and teaching a young girl a lesson. But will she learn? Well, only time will tell. Well, what do you say we take a look at what's popular on the old Twitter, shall we? So let me put this over here, and we'll start the open right now.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
Hello, computer. Just use the keyboard. The keyboard. How quaint.
And here's what's popular on Twitter for today. Siri, Apple's voice-activated virtual assistant, introduced in with the iPhone 4S in October of 2011, has provided weather forecast and restaurant tips and answered absurd questions for millions of people. Now, Susan Bennett from suburban Atlanta says she is the real voice of Siri. So I've gone to Twitter to see what people were sharing about their Siri experiences, and here's what I found. Girl Friday TV writes, "Hello Siri, Mind if I call you Susan Bennett? Sounds like a Sandra Bullock movie, doesn't it? Thad Castle writes, I just asked Siri if she wants to talk dirty, and she said, the carpet needs vacuuming. Oh, boy. I just thought of a really bad joke. Gives a whole new meaning to shag carpet.